Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the Taxiway podcast. I'm your host, Fabian, and this is the podcast that covers everything Las Vegas Aviators, the proud affiliate of the Athletics. To start off this first episode, I just want to thank you to everyone who is here to support this first episode. And we're going to start off with a quick recap of last season. So your Las Vegas Aviators are the proud Pacific Coast League champions, the first time that they've been PCL champs since 1988. After winning the PCL championship, they ended up playing in the AAA championship against the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, where unfortunately they lost in a very dramatic fashion on a walk-off home run by the Jumbo Shrimp. It was kind of odd seeing a walk-off home run by them because they were playing at Las Vegas Ballpark. But for that game, the Jumbo Shrimp had home field advantage. So to also encompass the regular season, the Aviators were the first half division champs, and they ended up going against the second half division champs, which were the Tacoma Rainiers. That postseason series was a pretty good one as well, so it's a shame that there aren't highlights of the game. There are some highlights, but not in the typical sense. You'll probably see, a few key plays here and there, but that's just besides the point. So the Las Vegas Aviators last year, they led the league in runs, in hits, in batting average, on base percentage, and RBIs. So that's a good formula to have when in order to be a champion. As far as how the roster is looking for next season, there are many people that we are going to say farewell to. First on the list, we're going to start with the pitchers, and then we're going to get to the position player, the fielders. So we're going to say goodbye to Carlos Duran, who elected free agency and signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and we'll see him when the Oklahoma City Comets will be in town. Next is Jack Cushing. No word on where he will be next season, but as the offseason develops, we'll be sure to keep you in the loop with Jack Cushing. Next is Jake Walkinshaw. He played in the PCL, both the PCL championship and the AAA championship. Unfortunately, he got DFA'd by the Athletics, so we'll see where he ends up next season. And keep in mind, when these players, they elect free agency or they get DFA'd by the parent club, it doesn't mean that they won't come back. There's still a chance that they may come back next season or possibly later in the off season. So we'll keep you in the loop. Next is David Leal. Then we have Aaron Brooks, also electing free agency. Tanner Dodson, free agency. Tyler Baum. Tyler Baum. He ended up electing free agency where the Nationals ended up picking up. So he'll be with the Rochester Red Wings in the International League. So if the Aviators are lucky enough to advance to the AAA championship and the Rochester Red Wings win the IL, then we'll see him there. Next is Jared Schuster. I believe he got released by the Aviators on December 10th. Next, we have Nick Martini. Nick Martini was a real leader on the Aviators. I believe he was top 10 in RBIs last season. And he was one of my favorite players to see, and hopefully he'll either re-sign with the Athletics, or perhaps he'll sign with a major league team that'll give him some more playing time up in MLB. Next we have Alejo Lopez. I believe he was top 10 in RBIs as well. Then we have Brian Lavestida. He played for the Aviators for a very short time last season, getting called up in August. He was a catcher, and he had, I would say, one of the best playoff performances that I've seen. Being called up from Double-A, playing for the Aviators, and he came up huge when the lights were shining the brightest. He hit the home run in the AAA championship to give the Aviators the lead heading into the 9th inning, where unfortunately the Jumbo Shrimp would walk it off in the bottom of the 9th. But it was a fantastic clutch moment. So hopefully Brian Lavestida comes back, or hopefully he gets a shot at a major league club, because when you're that clutch, there's going to be somewhere for you to play in some team, and hopefully it'll be the Athletics. Next person we'll say farewell from the Aviators is Junior Perez. So he is one of the highly touted prospects of the Athletics. Let's pull up his ranking. So unfortunately he doesn't have a ranking, but the major league team has a lot of hopes for him. So although he did get called up to the Aviators last year, they see a lot in him that they want to see up at the major league level. So Junior Perez. Next up is Daniel Susac. And yes, you heard right, Daniel Susac is leaving the Aviators. If you don't know, Daniel Susac got picked up by the Twins during the Rule 5 draft. So you may be wondering what the Rule 5 draft is. Let me bring it up here. So the Rule 5 draft, it's an annual event held at the MLB winter meetings. So all those teams that are gathering there that have an incomplete 40-man roster, they have the option to pick from another team's minor league system. And so in order to be eligible for this Rule 5 draft, a player must have signed at 18 or younger and played 5 professional seasons, or signed at age 19 or older and played 4 professional seasons. So Daniel Susac meets those requirements. So the Twins decided to draft him in the Rule 5 draft. You would think that he'd stay on the Twins, right? Because he was amazing last season. He was a team leader. He had one of the highest averages, top 5 on the team. He also had 68 RBIs, 483 slugging. Primary catcher for the Aviators, and he was fantastic. So the Twins ended up trading him to the San Francisco Giants in return for Miguel Caraballo and some cash. So I guess the Twins see more value in Miguel than Daniel Susac, but the Giants should be very happy. So we'll be seeing Daniel Susac play for the Giants. I would assume that he'd be at least starting the year on the bench, and then depending on his performance, maybe he'll take over there. But who better at evaluating catchers than Buster Posey for the Giants, right? Their GM. So those are the players that we will say farewell to. and we'll wish them luck. And if any more Aviators, either on the Athletics or in any level, if they've played for the Aviators, we'll see if they'll depart from the Athletics farm system or not. After saying farewell, then let's also welcome back some players that we'll say hello to or welcome back to Ben Bowden, Gustavo Rodriguez, and I want to stay on Gustavo for just a little bit. He, I would say, was one of the most reliable arms out of that Aviators bullpen. 164 ERA in 39 games across 44 different innings, but that was in minor league in total. Specifically for the Aviators, 2 wins, 1 loss, 2.27 ERA across 26 games, and on 31 and 2/3 innings. So he was incredible. We should see more of that amazing performance into next season, and he's one of the players that I have high hopes for coming into the next season. So hopefully he'll live up to those expectations. Next person we'll be welcoming back is Blake Beers and Cade Morris. I want to stay on Cade Morris for just a little bit. Cade Morris is the number 14 prospect for the Athletics. Every time when I say Athletics, it's so hard to not say Oakland, because they've been in Oakland for a very long time, and it's just a shame, the whole situation there. They will be playing at Las Vegas Ballpark for 2 homestands, one against the Pirates, and I believe the other one was against the Rockies, but I'd have to double check on that. But anyway, for Cade Morris, if you were following the Las Vegas Aviators last season, he actually had an appearance in Game 1 of the PCL Championship. He went very deep in that game, 7 innings, 1 strikeout. But I mean, if you're doing that well, if you're wheeling and dealing, it doesn't matter how you get him out. He was fantastic and obviously a major factor in the Aviators winning that game. In my opinion, it's a no-brainer that he'll be the ace of this Aviators rotation. Okay, and then we're going to also welcome back Zane Taylor. So Zane Taylor was actually drafted by the Athletics last season, and he is the Athletics' number 26 ranked prospect. And I guess they had a high expectations for him, because right after drafting him, they just threw him into the deep end of the pool in AAA, and he performed pretty well. He made 1 performance on September 20th against the Salt Lake Bees. 2 innings pitched, 4 Ks. So if you're striking out 2 out of the 3 guys, or 4 out of the 6 guys that you've seen, that's actually a pretty good sign. In his draft year, which was 2025, he was touted as one of the top senior arms in his class. They expect that he'll sit within 92 to 95 miles per hour on that fastball, and he's been known to go pretty deep into games. So it should be fun to see how he develops over the course of the season. And then next up, we got Junior Tour. So he was called up in September. Another late call up for the Aviators. And if you're new to minor league baseball, September is usually a very chaotic month in the season. Sorry about that. Because in September, the Major League Baseball (MLB) they allow the major league teams to expand their rosters to 26 guys, and You'll get to see a lot of the newbies from AAA, one of the better performing AAA players getting called up, or it doesn't even have to necessarily be the AAA player. If they see a AA, a high A guy really doing well, they'll call him up to the major league level to see how they do. So as we go through this list, you'll see a lot of guys from a lower level being promoted to AAA to just fill out these roster spots. So he had a decent Junior Tour called up in September. He had a decent year in high A, then he was promoted to AAA, and he had one appearance versus Salt Lake City Bees. Command is an issue, but he can strike people out when he can. And based on the numbers, looks like he'll mainly be needed as a starter. So hopefully he works on his command during the off season and during the next season, and hopefully he can go deeper into games, because that's usually an issue where other batters will get deep into counts and they'll just chip away, and he'll only last like maybe 2 to 3 innings. So if he can get to 5 innings, that would be a major win. And let's move on. Next, welcoming back Shane McGuire. Shane McGuire, primary catcher for the Aviators this season. 2025 was a standout year for him. 260 average, 372 on base percentage. It's kind of interesting, like if you go on the Aviators website, because as I was preparing for this episode, I was trying to see like, okay, where did he stand out in the team, right? He had 120 plate appearances, and you'd think that with that many plate appearances across 32 games that he would show up on the team's stats sheet. And unfortunately, no. It's like he played all those games, but he didn't really he didn't show up. So 268, that's actually a pretty decent figure, especially when you consider at the catcher's position who he was competing with. He was competing with Willie McIver, who got shipped during the transitional period of the All-Star break before the trade deadline. And then you got Daniel Susac. So the catching prospects, especially for the Athletics, I mean, it's been hit after hit after hit. I mean, you got obviously Daniel Susac. You got Shea Langeliers. Shea Langeliers, if you don't remember him, he was with the Aviators. I forgot there. I think it was the catcher for the Texas Rangers. He was from the Aviators as well. So I just can't remember at the top of my head. So the Athletics, they've been decent at developing catchers lately. So maybe that's why he fell down the memory hole. But we'll be expecting great things for Shane McGuire if he continues to keep that up. Next person we want to say welcome back to is Yuribel Angeles. He was also in the road to the AAA championship. He spent last year in AA Midland, called up in July. 288 average and 358 on base percentage. And one thing about this guy to know is that he bats pretty well with runners in scoring position. So that should be amazing to see, and hopefully the Aviators will be able to lead the league in RBIs and average again next year. So with these guys, it's been mainly guys who can perform when they need to. Primary position for Yuribel is third base. Next on our list is Cooper Bowman. And it's strange, these these player pages on the Aviators website, Cooper Bowman listed as a second baseman, but if you dive a little deeper into the stats, he spent most of his time in left field and first base. Solid defensively, and he's dominant against left-handed pitchers. Last season wasn't too great of a year. Excuse me. It wasn't too great of a year behind at the dish, only batting .236, .326 on base percentage. So let's actually take a look at that. So .236 average on the season, but let's take a closer look at how he's batting. So it's a ridiculous difference versus righties. 205 average, 288 on base percentage. But versus lefties, an incredible 339 average. 339 with a 466 on base percentage. So this guy absolutely loves hitting lefties. So during the season, I'd imagine it's actually kind of hard to distinguish like where he'll be used. We don't know if, it is a AAA level, so we don't know if they're just gonna say, okay, we want you to develop against right-handers, or if the manager Fran Riordan will just say, you know what, we only want you to hit against lefties, and he'll be the Aviators lefty specialist. So if there's a lefty on the mound, he'll be playing that day, or who knows? It's just honestly, I think it just depends on the depth that they have in the outfield or in the infield. So if they have solid options in the outfield, then maybe they might only send him out against lefties. So we'll just see. We'll see how it goes. My personal opinion is that they'll only have him out there for lefties, but I'm still split whether they'll just throw him out there against righties just so he can get some chances against them, so he can develop that side of his game. Because if he can really tighten it up against righties, then I think he has a shot on the Oakland Athletics. Sorry, not Oakland, just the Athletics. Next, we have Colby Halter. He mostly played in AA Midland until he was called up in August. And again, he's listed as a primary second baseman. However, with the Aviators, he only played first base. He did well in August, so Colby Halter did well in August, but struggled at the plate in September, so he kind of fell off a little there. But he finished the year with a 2.6. Sorry, that's minor league totals. But here we go, AAA. So he finished the year in AAA with a 203 average and a 271 on base percentage. So Colby Halter, he finished the year 203 average, 271 on base percentage. And we'll see how he does next year. Next we have Luke Mann. Now, if you were listening to the broadcast during the Aviators postseason run, you'll know that Mr. Russ Langer referred to him as Luke the Man. Luke the Man, he hit a 3-run home run in Game 2 of the PCL Championship, and he made an amazing diving play in the AAA Championship over in the hot corner. And before joining the Aviators, he was in AA Midland before getting that call up in September. So that's a consistent theme of always getting called up in September. So that should be how it is next season too, where we'll have a couple of standout guys, and And around the All-Star break or the trade deadline, we'll see more movement. Primary third baseman, bats lefty, and he hits right. Throws right, sorry. He bats lefty and he throws right. You can tell that he's more of a power hitter. A high slugging percentage and low batting average. So he's like a Joey Gallo type of guy where 3 true outcomes: walk, strikeout, or a home run. Although he didn't get to show a lot of his pop, but high slugging means that he usually has extra base hits. So that should be exciting to watch him next season. Then welcoming back Ben Newton, second baseman. Again, primary listed as second baseman, but he split his time across DH, catching, first base, but he mostly was at the hot corner. He was signed to Las Vegas in March and placed on the development list in the same month. And the development list is a thing that's reserved for AAA. So you're not going to see development list up in the majors. And you might be wondering, what is the development list? Well, it gives the team, so whatever team that player's on, it gives them, the team, the ability to have a player improve certain aspects of their game without losing a roster spot. This player is still on the team, but they can't participate in any games. It also gives another player an opportunity to fill in that role. So if I'm a pitcher and the team says, you know what, we actually want you to just hold back out of any games, just take your time, no game action, and you'll develop, but you still have access to the pitching coaches and any other resources that you need. At the same time, we can go down to AA or high A and call another pitcher up to replace you. In the meantime, this person is not getting kicked off the team, but just getting some extra special attention. And then lastly, we want to welcome back Drew Swift. He split his time across second base, third base, and shortstop. He's a righty. Mr. Swift was called up in July and adapted well. And he even performed better at the AAA level than he did in the AA level. So in AAA, he ended up hitting 318, 383 batting average, and a 417. So Mr. Swift, he batted 318 with a 383 on-base percentage and a 417 slugging percentage. Sorry, not percentage, just 417 slugging. And to get an idea of how well he did in AAA, he had the same amount of RBIs in half the time than he was within Midland. So just imagine that. Same amount of RBIs in half the time. So he was really seeing the AAA pitching. And he played well defensively, where he spent most of his time at shortstop. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they ended up starting him at shortstop next season. Then we also have Henry Bolte. So Henry Bolte is coming back primarily in the outfield, a righty, and he's the number 5 prospect for the Athletics. He was called up in July 22nd from AA Midland. He hit 300 with a 404 on-base percentage, 433 slugging, in 120 at-bats for Las Vegas. And if you look at his splits, whether it's day or night, home or away, he is pretty consistent. He hits almost 400, and he hits almost 400 with runners in scoring position. So another batter that loves to show off what he's got in crucial situations. He mostly played in right field, Although one aspect of his game that isn't as strong is his defensive capabilities. So he had a .965 fielding percentage in right field and an .857 percentage in left. So left field is definitely a weak spot for him, but hopefully during the break he was working on that, and he'll be a lot stronger defensively next season. We also want to welcome back Ryan Lasko, outfielder, number 16 prospect for the Athletics. He was called up in September from AA Midland, and he performed well for Las Vegas with a .256 average and a .313 on-base percentage with a .349 slugging. And for those of you who followed the Aviators last season, Mr. Lasko, he was actually in the PCL Championship. So he went in and wanted to create his own legacy in Vegas. He hit a 2-run home run in Game 1, and then the very next game he hit a 2-run home run with a triple, an RBI triple at that. So, and that was in Game 2. And then after the season, he was in the Arizona Fall League, representing the Athletics, and he decided to become the AL Fall Star. So he definitely has no signs of stopping, and hopefully he'll continue that next season. And then the Athletics, they also wanted to add a lot of guys during this time. They want to really beef up their farm system. So get this, they added a staggering 12 relievers, 1-2 relievers. So that really sends a message that they want pitching, and they need it desperately. They really want to round out. They want that depth. They're thinking that maybe something will happen during the season, that all their MLB roster will just fall off a cliff or something, and they'll need more relievers. So we'll get through the standout ones for now. So we're gonna start off with Nick Anderson. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because he has a pretty extensive MLB resume. We'll go over the teams that he's played for. So he's played for the Miami Marlins, the Tampa Bay Rays. Most of his time was with the Tampa Bay Rays from 2019 to 2021. Then in 2023, he was shipped off to Atlanta, then to Kansas City, then ultimately he ended his time in Colorado. But actually, the numbers in Major League aren't the greatest. I'm gonna be honest with you, they're not the greatest. He ended his 2025 MLB season with a 6.14 ERA in 12 games across 14 and 2/3 innings pitched. But as I was preparing for this episode, there's a lot of writers in MLB that think that Nick Anderson will make a splash, and if he gets right, they're really hoping that Mr. Anderson will replicate his 2020 season with Tampa Bay, or his 2023 season with Atlanta. Because get this, hitters were hitting .091 and .229 respectively. So these guys were just not hitting against him. So the A's are really hoping that he can recapture his brilliance in 2020 and 2023. As far as his minor league season for AAA Albuquerque, across 38 games, he had a .526 ERA, 48 strikeouts, and 19 walks across 39 and a third innings pitched. So definitely he did a little better in AAA, but hopefully we can see the reincarnation of either 2020 or 2023 here with the Aviators, and he'll mostly be in that the closer to late innings role. Next we have J.J. Goss. Let me pull him up. Mr. Goss, relief pitcher, a righty. So he's coming from the Tampa Bay farm system. And in their system, he had a 3.38 ERA, 33 across 33 games in 40 innings pitched. And it's amazing. Hitters were only hitting 203 against him, 7 Ks per 9. All right, so if this man, that's actually pretty great, especially for a reliever. And unfortunately, he ended his year on the IL in 2025. He converted from a starting pitcher in 2023, and he's seen pretty good results after having switched positions to reliever. He induces soft contact. With .23 home runs per 9, so he is not giving up any home runs, or at least he didn't at the AA level. The next guy that we have is Brooks Kriske. So he started off 2025 in the Cubs organization. Unfortunately, he was DFA'd from the Cubs, but the Twins ended up picking him up. He performed well for the Cubs, but not so much for the Twins in the MLB level. However, for Iowa, he had a 3.13 ERA, 200 average, and a 14.78 Ks per 9. So if he were to throw a 9-inning game, he'd have at least 15 strikeouts on average. So this man, he is a strikeout machine. And if you don't know, there's a feature on MILB.com where you can see past games for free. So any game in the past, you can watch for free, and I'd recommend that you pull up Mr. Kriske's player profile on MILB.com, and then you look at his game logs, and just look at where he struck out the side, or he struck out multiple people in an inning or across multiple innings. And I gotta say, he has some pretty nasty stuff. So if you want to treat, you should treat yourself to seeing some of these highlights. Mr. Kriske, Brooks Kriske. Next we have is Matt Crook. Now, as I was setting up this episode, I didn't know if I should include Mr. Crook in our welcome back, because he actually started 2025 with Las Vegas, and he got called up to the Athletics. But then he got DFA'd not long after that. Cleveland ended up picking him up, and he spent the rest of 2025 with their AAA affiliate. And at their affiliate, he had a 3.19 ERA in 42 games in 48 innings pitched. The thing with Matt Crook is he struggles a lot with walking hitters. He strikes out a lot of guys, but he also walks a lot of guys. So I guess that's just the double-edged sword, where you have a lot of movement, and sometimes guys don't bite, and you ended up walking a lot of guys. So hopefully he can improve that swing and miss, or just improve his command a little bit. But this is another guy where I'd recommend seeing his stuff, because it'll just fall off a table. Like, he's a low pitch speed kind of guy. He's mostly movement. He's not gonna blow anybody away, but He's got that slider sinker combo, and it's just nasty. Another nasty, nasty man. So if he can clean up the walks a little bit and just absolutely wheel and deal, that it's just going to be a nightmare for anybody who has to go up against him. And I believe that is... Oh, actually we have one more guy that we want to look at. Let's see, let's bring him up. Oh, my apologies. This is the end for the pitchers. So actually this is the last pitcher, and then we'll go up to some of the acquisitions that they got on the field. So the last pitcher the Athletics got was Wander Suero. And his nickname is the Animal. And I was just sitting back here and I was thinking, what does somebody have to do to get a nickname like the Animal? And I'm really hoping that I get my question answered sometime soon, because what can somebody do to be called the Animal? Well, the Animal, Mr. Sweatle, 2025, he bounced around between Atlanta Braves and their AAA affiliate, Gwinnett Stripers, before getting DFA'd in September. The Mets ended up picking him up, and he played for AAA Syracuse until the end of the season. But, Mr. Sweatle, he actually has a lot of awards to his name. So let's just rattle off of them really quickly. So he has the MILB Organizational All-Star in 2017 for Washington, in 2023 for the Dodgers. And then this man went out and got a World Series ring with the 2019 Washington Nationals. And then last year, so in 2024, he was the PCL All-Star for the Sugarland Space Cowboys, so one of the Aviators rivals there. So you can tell that he has some pretty good stuff if you can get a World Series champion and be a World Series champion, and then be an organizational all-star. So for last season for Atlanta in the MLB, he had an 11.37 ERA across 5 games and 6 1/3 innings pitched. And fortunately, guys, we're really seeing the ball well out of his hand. He had a 3.57 batting average against. And, across 5 games, you're only pitching 6 innings. Those numbers can be very inflated, right? So we don't want to take that. We want to take that with a grain of salt, because in Gwinnett, where he spent most of his time, he had a 1.35 ERA in 43 games across 46 2/3 innings pitched. And if you can guess, hitters were only hitting 203 off of him. So not many people were hitting the ball off of him. And so that's just how it goes, where you only get a couple of chances up in the major league club, and then you have a couple of rough outings, or maybe one really, really bad outing, and then you get DFA'd or sent down. So that's why when you're looking at these stats, you actually want to see how many games did they play, how many innings did they play, how many at-bats did they have. Because if they only had a few bad at-bats, or maybe a bad month, if you're looking at a batter, like if they had a bad month, it's gonna tank. It's gonna tank their overall average. So if you want to, you can look at the bigger picture, and you can say, we can look at the number. And it's like, oh man, this reliever, he's horrible. But you gotta take it into account the time and the situational hitting, and there's so many factors. But as you look into the numbers, you can see, okay, well, he's not walking a lot of guys, or or he's actually striking out a lot of guys, or you can tell that these players aren't getting a lot of hard contact off of him, like not a lot of extra base hits. And that's something you want to really want to analyze as you're looking through these stats. So in the case of Mr. Sweatle, the animal, he has high strikeouts, low walks, doesn't allow a lot of home runs. But where they are getting him is that they'll he allows a lot of hits. So they'll get single by single, they'll go station to station, and they'll just slowly chip away at him and until runners score. So that's something that we'll see if that'll be a factor for next season, if he's going to allow a lot of hits, allow a lot of traffic on the bases. And we can expect him to be in the late inning to closer role. And looking at how he spent his time last season, I'm leaning more toward closer because he had 13 saves last season. And so I believe that, actually no, we're going to go over some of the fielders that the Aviators or the Athletics acquired. So we have Joey Meneses. Joey Meneses from the Mets. Let me pull up his details. So Joey Meneses, he's actually been in MILB for 14 seasons. He started his MILB career in 2011, and he has some stints with the Nationals from 2022 to 2024. And he was in Syracuse with the Syracuse Mets last season. So he ended the year on the IL, unfortunately. But he had a 265 average, a 322 on-base percentage, and a 447 slugging. He performed well in the summer, but he struggled at the end of the season, and I assume that's because of the injuries. The next person that the Athletics acquired, hold on, I have it here. Where are you? Here we go. Michael Stefanik. My apologies, I have like a million tabs open right now, so as soon as I get another monitor, it'll be a lot smoother. So we have Michael Stefanik, and I couldn't pin, like, where have I heard that name before? Because I've heard that name before, Michael Stefanik. So let's look at where he's been. Okay, in the MLB. Los Angeles Angels and the Toronto Blue Jays. Right? And the Blue Jays were obvious because he comes from the Buffalo Bisons, and they're the Blue Jays AAA affiliate. But that's where I knew Michael Stefanik from, is because he played with the Angels. And in his MLB career, he actually had a couple of appearances in the Blue Jays, so I wouldn't actually be surprised if they gave him a ring just for contributing last season. But I believe maybe they have like a minimum requirement before they just start handing out rings. So in 2025 in the MLB, Michael Stefanik, in 22 at bats, he had a 182 average, 280 on base, and a 462 on base plus slugging. So let's just look at the minor leagues now. So in the minors, he had a 287 average, and if I remember correctly, that's top 10. That was top 10 in the IL. Sorry, top 5. He was number 5. He was number 5 in average across first baseman. So he did pretty decent. So he should, I hope that he'll continue that trend with the Aviators. let's take a look at his splits because I'm kind of curious. I believe Mr. Stefanik is a vampire. 290 average at night compared to 263 in the day. He also has 31 RBIs 31 RBIs opposed to 20 in the day. So 31 RBIs at night and 20 RBIs during the day. So I believe he might be a vampire. And but yeah, so we'll see where Mr. Stefanik gets to play. It's listed here that he plays second base. But actually, let's see if for fielding. So Stefanik, he actually played third base and shortstop last year. So he was mostly used there. So we'll see if they'll continue to use him at third base or shortstop. But seeing that Drew Swift is at short and Yuribel Angeles is at third, I think they might make him go back to second. But it just depends on the needs of the major league club and where they want him. So yeah, so I believe that's all that we have for the recap or just the breakdown of how your 2026 Las Vegas Aviators are gonna look like. If and during the off season, we'll continue to pay attention on the movement between the different levels of the athletics farm system, and we'll let you know if any more people get added on or pack their bags and say goodbye. So I'm Fabian. This is the Taxiway podcast, and I hope you have a great day.